Today on the Topping Show, The Rock says he's no longer endorsing President Biden and he regrets his 2020 endorsement. Scottish Prime Minister calls JK Rowling's tweets offensive and unsettling. Praying grandma gets 1 year in prison and a $210,000 fine. 99-cent only stores are closing down for good. White House declares they do not support Taiwan's independence. Vivek on citizens being charged with crimes while illegals are not. Elon begins the bot purge on Twitter. And Boeing to pay Alaska Airlines $160 million due to their ineptitudes with the assembly of the doors just bursting open. All of that and much, much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Guys say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have 99-cent only store closing down for good. Now, this is unfortunately because obviously a lot of people are losing their jobs, but it's not too surprising considering 40-year hyperinflation thanks to the ineptitudes of the government. Now, this was first reported by Riva Gold over at LinkedIn News, and they note that that store had pioneered the single price store retail concept, and it'll be closing all 371 of their locations after more than 4 decades in business. Chief Executive Mike Simonik cited significant challenges across the retail sector, including the impact of the pandemic, rising prices, and shrink or inventory loss to error or theft. The chain had locations in California, Arizona, Nevada, and Texas, and about 14,000 employees. They are set to begin liquidation sales and agreement to Hilco Global, which is the management behind their real estate assets. They were actually founded in 1982 by David Gold over in Los Angeles. They kept prices under $1 until 2008, which is insane when considered, again, the U.S. government with their ineptitudes on the left and the right printing more money than ever before. We have record inflation. So $1 is worth basically nothing thanks to them. And remember, there's no such thing as a gold standard anymore. It's just fiat currency. Some would argue just as legitimate as monopoly money. Now, just a little fun little thing we'll do here. Let's go up and pull up one of those inflation calculators. Because they say, let's see, so 1982, what would that be like in now dollars? So in 1982, they're charging 99 cents for items, plus tax. And thanks to the inflation, 99 cents in 1982 translates to $3.18 in 2024 crap dollars. 221.6% inflation. And this is thanks to usinflationcalculator.com. That's ridiculous. So every year, their margins were getting lesser and lesser because the dollar was worth less and less. And especially when you had the pandemic and China shut down, that was one of the few places in the world where you can actually get cheap goods and services, partially because the government is very pro-business in terms of very, very little like regulation. Well, again, that supply chain was cut off and greatly reduced, thereby dramatically decreasing their inventory levels. It's very unfortunate, but again, that dollar is worth less and less every year. And again, like most dollar stores, I mean, not just a dollar store name, but you have Dollar Tree, Family Dollar. A lot of them increase their prices dramatically. I mean, it might not sound like a lot for some people, but going from $1 to $1.25, that adds up a lot in the aggregate if you're buying all your groceries there, all your weekly food supplies there. So it's very sad that this store is coming to an end. It's not too surprising because, again, we've seen a lot of consolidation in the industry the past couple of years, especially with, Dollar Tree banging out Family Dollar was one of the largest acquisitions. So it's kind of two giant juggernauts right now in terms of that industry segment. You have Dollar General, and then you have Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree, of course, owns Family Dollar. It's hyper competitive, and even all of them are raising prices. It's not just one of them, in part because of ridiculous inflation. So it's very unfortunate that these employees are going to be losing their jobs, and hopefully they're able to translate their skill sets to another type of gainful employment in another location soon. So at the end of the day, hopefully new jobs will be created, new opportunities will be created, so not too many people are left in between, so to say. Other interesting business news, you have Elon beginning the bot purge on X Twitter, which, yes, they dramatically need. Now, he noted this a couple days ago, actually. He said, quote, "System purge of bots and trolls underway. Please reply to me or hashtag XENG if legitimate accounts are suspended. X Corp will be tracing the people responsible for bringing the full force of the law to bear upon them," unquote, getting 44.6 million views and 129,000 likes, which is quite a few to say the least. And there is a major issue on X Twitter when it comes to bots. It's no coincidence that over 20 attractive women started following me on hashtag The Topping Show. They're certainly not real. My luck is not that good. I know the cards I've been dealt in life. I'm no Brad Pitt. So, and I looked at the accounts of these supposed gals who started following me on X Twitter. Over half of them were accounts that were started this month. And they had less than 2 followers. So they certainly seemed like a bot. I guess the only thing I was surprised was they didn't immediately ask me to send them gift cards or something to that effect. Now, some of the top responses comes from the red-headed libertarian, and she simply did a dancing emoji saying "ass in bio," and it got 2.5 thousand likes. Which, again, there's a reason all the kind of biopics of these bots look the same. You also have Luke Zaleski, our favorite leftist. Well, not really favorite, but appreciate different contrarian statements because it makes life a little bit more interesting. And Luke says, quote, "Potentially helpful. It's been 18 months, though, and the bots are still an abomination that destroy the credibility of the site and of the claims thus far that destroyed them in serious part of Twitter 2.0's agenda. Perhaps if bots were renamed illegals, the focus would emerge." Unquote. They got 342 likes, despite, in my opinion, being mostly mentally vacuous. Because, again, I started this show X Twitter profile when I started the show. So I've had it for about a year. And, again, the most followers that I've gained, which, again, they all look like bots, were in the past 30 to 60 days. And with my personal X Twitter profile, I've actually seen that go down. Well, perhaps I'm just too bombastic or offensive people. That certainly might be a possibility. But I suspect that's because a lot of the fake profiles or bots that are following me were subsequently removed. Now, going down more and more, you have the quartering saying, quote, "Finally, thank you. Is there a system in place to prevent them from just creating new accounts?" Quote, getting 707 likes. USMC Lady Vet says, quote, "Do you know how many fake Elon are on here? Hope you can get rid of them along with the porn bots." And quote, getting 1.8 thousand likes. U.S. Ministry of Truth says, quote, "Every time this happens, the President of the United States account gets ratio because the bots have all gone, and I love it," unquote, getting 4,000 likes, which it is fascinating. You'll see, like, the POTUS profile will get maybe a couple of, 10, 20,000 likes, but 90+% of all the replies are all ratioing him viscerally and disagreeing with him. You have Rawler saying, quote, "Thank God, now let the purge begin," getting 3.7 thousand likes. Greg says, quote, "Thanks for the heads up. I was wondering why I just lost 8 followers all of a sudden," getting 3.8 thousand likes. Juanita Broderick says, quote, "Got a bunch of imposters using my name, photo, website, etc., getting 1.8 thousand likes." Gunther Eagleman says, quote, "As a Russian troll in my mom's basement and I save," unquote, getting 3,000 likes. Paul Zazupa says, "This is great news. Keep X neat and tidy." Broom emoji, which I didn't know that was a thing. That got 207 likes. You also have Cat Dirt simply having the clappy emoji getting 3.5 thousand likes. And again, we'll do one more. This is too funny. Joe Biden Press Release parody account says, quote, "Wow, I just thought all those beautiful Asian women were following me because I love China," unquote, getting 3.5 thousand likes. And Chuck Calisto says Biden's account is toast, getting 2.6 thousand likes. And again, this is going to be definitely needed on X Twitter. And I really do wonder how he's going to more effectively make it profitable, especially when it comes to advertisers and advertising dollars. If you're looking to invest in Twitter or run an advertising campaign on Twitter, I think they have so much data on you. I'm actually surprised they don't ask you to have a job title in your name. Even if they don't tell you, you're not telling people where you work, but giving that data would allow people to invest more marketing dollars. One of the reasons I see a lot of businesses invest in advertising campaigns on places like LinkedIn is because if you're on LinkedIn, you have a job title. And usually you also have a location and an industry that you're in. So it's very easy to make an advertising campaign that puts your post in front of the correct audience. Now, I haven't, in full transparency, I haven't attempted to do a LinkedIn, or sorry, a X Twitter, sponsorship ad in ever. I think I've tried to do one post a little while back, and I did not see the ability to cater the advertisements, giving those certain things I want to target. But if they can do that, as well as get rid of a lot of the bots, I suspect they'll be able to dramatically boost the company. Because again, I mean, the more bots, the worse it is, and nobody likes it. But, I mean, let me know. Have you seen any evidence of bots on your end when you're logging into X Twitter? Is it ruining your experience? Have you seen a dramatic uptick? I mean, anecdotally speaking, again, from my experience, I've seen a lot more in the past 30, 60 days than I had, prior, 6 to 7 months. So let me know. As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have Scottish Prime Minister saying JK Rowling tweets are, quote, offensive and unsettling, unquote. Which, I don't want to say you're a weak man, but, well, I guess I kind of do. I've never heard a man say the word unsettling. I don't know if it's just a feminine word or sounds weak, but have you ever used that vernacular in common usage from your friends if you're a guy tuning in the show? Now, again, this comes to us thanks to Lives of TikTok on X Twitter, and she says, quote, Scottish First Minister Husma Yousaf described JK Rowling tweets as offensive and unsettling. Scotland passed a quote-unquote hate speech bill, and on the first day received over 4,000 complaints. A majority of the complaints were reportedly about Husma's anti-white racist comments. Is this considered hate speech? And here's a little video of that man. Now, he might be morally depravable. However, he did do one thing right. He has one redeeming factor. He did, as all men should, suit up. So, at least he has some modicum of fashion sense.
White. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white.
And this is Scotland, right? Okay.
The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white. And not just Justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white. The Lord Justice...
He sounds very angry and attacking people based on their race. That doesn't seem right. As liberals might say, that is problematic, quote unquote. Another word used all too often these days, to be honest. Now, of course, it sounds like he's very upset. Instead, he should be asking himself, perhaps, are these most qualified people? Then I would have a problem. If they have someone who's in office who just got elected because they had someone call in a favor, or they're just wholly inept or they're terrible at the job, and yeah, get them out. Primary them. Give the people the choice to vote for a different candidate. Presumably, most of these positions, you could also have them reelected, and if you don't agree with their policies, you could primary them out. But let's go to the comments and see what the folks have to say. And again, that went viral to say at least. Got 2.6 million views and 34,000 likes within the first 24 hours. Now, Paul Zazupa says, quote, imagine if a politician said what Husma Yousaf said in this video, but instead said that it was black people. Now that would be international outrage. Yousaf hates white people. He should now be prosecuted based on hate speech bill that he championed. That's the law now, right? Unquote. They got 6.7 thousand likes, which, of course, he won't be prosecuted. We all know those laws they're applied unequally, ironically. Scrolling down. Libercat Media TM says, quote, so basically, free speech is dangerous unless liberals control it. And that's what an audience of the NPC guy is screaming. That got 2.3 thousand likes. Ethan Crooks says, quote, this guy upset about white people in Scotland is like me going to Japan and complaining that there's too many Japanese people in their government. It's beyond absurd, unquote, getting 5.2 thousand likes. Joshua Walker says, quote, rules for thee, but not for me. JK Rowling is standing up to do what is showing to be a tyrannical government. Husma is he who must not be named. I stand with JK, unquote, getting 1.7 thousand likes. And a good bonus for referencing Harry Potter. Hard Truth says, quote, according to Scotland, he needs to be locked up and reprogrammed, unquote, getting 1.5 thousand likes. Journal TM says, quote, I find the Scottish Prime Minister to be offensive and unsettling, and F his feelings, unquote, getting 1.3 thousand likes. George Alexampoulos says, quote, she should just buy Scotland at this point, like how Musk bought Twitter, unquote, getting 1.2 thousand likes. Let's see, scrolling down more and more. Richard Pierce says, quote, 4,000 on the first day, and before the, quote, hate speech bill began, Scottish authorities vowed to investigate each and every complaint. Good luck with that, unquote, getting 539 likes. Let's see here. Jeffer says they even gave him preferential treatment and didn't record it as a non-crime hate incident, in which they say they will always do. This is all nonsense. The bill needs to be scrapped, unquote, getting 145 likes. Scrolling down more and more. Let's see. You have Branos saying, quote, this bill is intended to target people like JK. It's not an attempt to protect anyone, getting 946 likes. You also have the doppelganger saying, quote, seems like he's the one who's racist, getting 618 likes. Let's see here. Chan Chiata says, quote, just curious, how did Scotland get a representative named Humza Yousaf? What clan does he hail from? I'm quoting 255 likes. Matthew J. Show says, quote, Yousaf is total scum, getting 252 likes. Let's see. A lot of infographics about demographic shifts in these countries past couple of decades, with people of the country being replaced by people who are coming in. Let's see here. So overwhelming positive support. Let's see here. Do one more. Mark says, quote, here's a picture of Yousaf smiling and not smiling, with the juxtaposition text being, creating an online tool to report racism. And then when he's sad, saying, quote, finding out you're the most reported person, unquote, getting 490 likes. There's quite a few, to say the least. So it'll be interesting to see, does the law actually get overturned? Do people vote differently over there? How many people are the police realistically going to arrest over there for quote unquote hate speech? I mean, we all know the law's not going to be equally applied. At what point do people just start voting differently, or primarying their public officials? Maybe they themselves get into office. But at least on social media, I mean, Mr. Yousaf is completely, as the youth might say, ratioed, to say the least. Other interesting cultural news, you have praying grandma, age 72, getting fined $210,000 and getting 1 year in jail. Now, this comes to us thanks to Colin Rugg, and they say, quote, Justin, praying grandma Rebecca Laverenz has reportedly been found guilty by a D.C. jury after she briefly entered the Capitol on January 6th. Glad to see our justice system is going after some hard-hitting criminals. Laverenz spent 10 minutes inside the Capitol and was seen praying outside of the building for an hour. Laverenz is on film peacefully walking around the Capitol building and was spotted sneaking with a police officer. She is allegedly facing a $210,000 fine and faces 1 year in jail. The video below was taken in March of Laverenz driving to the Capitol. Her account is hashtag Jan6 praying grandma. And they got 2.2 million views and 20,000 likes, which is astonishing. Thanks to Tucker Carlson, he actually did release the footage of January 6th where you have videos of police officers opening doors and guiding people through the building. And you have people like this where they literally, it was almost like an awkward tourist, and they just walk through the Capitol. But yeah, some of them got violent, and they should be properly processed through the system and given a court date and be able to, plead their case appropriately and have their day in court. And some people literally just walked through and got arrested. And I don't think it seems to me we see this frequency of people getting arrested who are praying more and more. I don't think that's a coincidence. Now, scrolling through the comments, you have Paul Zazupa being one of the first comments saying, quote, the U.S. government is the largest terrorist organization in the world. It's not even close, and we're witnessing its commit terrorism against American people on a daily basis. Sending a woman to jail for praying is insane. Our government is insane. I'm quoting 3.8 thousand likes. Mark says, quote, the Biden regime, DOJ, has gone overboard. The political persecution must end. And there's a picture of someone in a prison with a MAGA hat saying, quote, free January 6th political prisoners, getting 2.1 thousand likes. Junita Broderick says, quote, If they're trying to make an example out of her, they have just lost their freaking minds. This will backfire big time. I've donated to her Give 7 Go. I hope others do as well, getting 6.4 thousand likes. Mike Sesbrilla says, quote, but BLM and the Epstein list walk free, just sickening, unquote, getting 2.7 thousand likes, which, yeah, I think it's been quite some time since the law was equally applied to everyone. I can't fathom how many people truly think there's no political persecution these days in the United States. Let's see. Will Tanner says, quote, meanwhile, they turn murderers and drug dealers back on the street without charging bail or even bringing charges. The injustice system is such a disgrace. I'm quoting 1,000 likes. Let's see here. Deep Blue Crypto says, quote, 0 trials for Hunter Biden, 0 trials for COVID tyranny, 0 trials for Biden admin lies, 0 trials for Epstein's clients, 0 trials for big tech collusion, 0 trials for vaccine side effects, 0 trials for big pharma complex, 0 trials for Russian disinformation, 0 trials for massive election fraud, 0 trials for international war crimes, 0 trials for FBI, CDC, FDA, DHS, DOJ, 0 trials for military-industrial complex, 0 trials for media censorship complex. Multiple investigations on Elon Musk, multiple investigations on Donald Trump, unquote. Getting 1,000 likes. Let's see here. Old School Eddie says, our government is off the rails. This has to stop. I'm clicking 155 likes. Let's see. Matt Natchtrib says, quote, this is political persecution. Our founders warned us of this and created a constitution to protect citizens from uneven political punishment, outsized fines, and ruling party from prosecuting their political opponents. The total damage to the Capitol is only $1.5 million, getting 59 likes. Remember there was $2 billion in damage and like 2 people went to jail over the Summer of Love riots? Fascinating to see the priorities and what really gets prosecuted in the United States. Benjamin Way says, quote, trying to scare us from ever protesting at our own HQ we pay for. Ever again, pure evil. Tell me how she is some threat to democracy, unquote, getting 87 likes. Sarah, let's see here. America Meme says, quote, vote out the Democrats, vote in Trump so he can put a stop to their fascism, unquote, getting 210 likes. Miss Densoko says, quote, this is crazy. Where's the GOP, unquote, getting 104 likes, which that is something I ask myself frequently. Where and what do they really do? I can't but remember when Trump was in power, they had the House of Representatives, they had the Senate, and they had the White House. And yet they still couldn't get a lot of gun right laws passed. Suppressors are still in the NFA. You still have to go through a ridiculous application, doing a photo. You have to have a photo ID, photo taken, fingerprints. You're treated like a criminal if you want to make your gun a little bit easier to shoot and have a little bit less hearing damage. And you still have to pay that tax stamp, which is unconstitutional. You have to pay a tax stamp to exercise your God-given right. And yet the GOP couldn't get those off the NFA when they had all of that. Makes me really wonder what the heck do they really do. Let's see here. Florida 1 says, quote, this is beyond words for Americans, but for Marxists who have hijacked our country, this is the norm. They have no reverse gear and seek retribution against those who have done nothing other than be there. Our justice system is broken. 408 likes. So as youth may say, it went viral to say the least. And again, it'll be interesting to see if maybe she wins on an appeal, or maybe there's enough public support where they stop persecuting her, or maybe they'll stop the prosecution altogether. But let's see here. Yeah, sure doesn't pass a gut test. But let me know. Do you think she deserves a year in prison for that, or do you think she's being overcharged because of her political beliefs? As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Dwayne Johnson, the Dwayne The Rock, says he won't endorse Biden this time, and he actually regrets his 2020 endorsement. Because remember, Dwayne The Rock Johnson in 2020 said it was a good idea to elect Biden and Harris. He believed in them. And for those who don't remember his eloquence, we'll go ahead and we'll play a brief clip here.
EJ.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, guys. I got to tell you, well, it is so good seeing you guys. Senator Harris, It's a pleasure to finally see you and finally meet you.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to see you. I'm a huge fan of everything from Fast and Furious, all of them, to Jumanji. So thank you for your work.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for your work.
For her work? I can't remember. Oh yeah, when she was a leader in California, she arrested thousands of people for marijuana use, and then went on a podcast, and when they asked her if she used marijuana, she simply laughed awkwardly with her signature evil cackle.
Start off by saying, guys, I've been a lucky guy over the years in my life and my career to have been part of and participated in some real defining moments. And I have never publicly endorsed a presidential candidate or a vice presidential candidate in my life, over my career. So I figured let's kick this conversation off this way by me officially publicly endorsing you both to become president and vice president of our great country.
So remember, thank Dwight "The Rock" Johnson for the past couple years. If you agree that this has been a great economic boost, the country is a great direction, because he convinced millions of idiots to vote or that way. Because there are people who worship celebrities and they'll buy a product, or they'll, in this case, buy the belief in a politician because of them. Again, he acts for a living. He's not a political analyst. I'd love it if he said, I think you're going to do X, Y, Z really well. Or I think you're a great candidate because of 3 bullet points. I mean, we know he doesn't do that, but we'll play a little bit more.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Thank
you.
That means a great deal to us, for real. Thank you.
Really.
For real.
Thank you.
You guys are both obviously experienced to lead. You've done great things. Joe, you've had such an incredible career. You've led, in my opinion, with great compassion and heart and drive, but also soul.
Oh.
And you and I talked about...
I forgot. That's very important. I forgot that was on the presidential resume. Soul. I almost forgot that one.
About that in the past and how important soul is. And Kamala, I'm going to embarrass you just for a little bit because I'm going to talk a little bit about your amazing experience. And you have been an attorney, a district attorney, a state attorney, a U.S. senator, smart, tough. I've seen you in those hearings. And
so remember, Dwight "The Rock" Johnson called Kamala Harris smart. I don't know how large of a sample size it is in terms of who he's had contact with in his life and what he considers smart. But for the record, he called Kamala Harris smart.
In my opinion, you are a certified badass.
I'm honored, and thank you for that. That's a huge compliment from you.
You're welcome. Joe, you and I have talked about the relationship that you had with your father. You know, this idea of respect and earning respect that our parents have taught us. My dad always said, respect is given when it's earned. Question I had is, how will the both of you earn the respect of all the American people once you're in that White House?
By doing what we say we're going to do, by keeping our word, by leveling with the American people, by taking responsibility. When we fail, acknowledge it. We're not going to be perfect, but take responsibility. Say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I believe. And tell the truth. That sounds so basic. But the American people are strong. They're tough. They can take anything if you level with them and tell the truth. And one of the ways we're going to do it is demonstrate we mean what we say. Our administration, DJ, is going to look like America. It's going to be representative of all of America.
Right. So that was 2020. And a lot of people believed Dwight "The Rock" Johnson said, you know what? I think this is a good idea. I'm going to vote this way. We appreciate your words of wisdom, Mr. Rock. I'm sure no one made fun of him saying he was as dumb as a rock or he looks like a rock. I'm sure no one did that. But now, times are changing. And the approval ratings are way down for Biden across the board. So, like a true two-faced charlatan, Mr. Rock is going to follow the direction. What way is the wind blowing? Pretty much, he'll just do anything for people to like him. Just watch the Joe Rogan interview. It was the most boring interview Joe Rogan's ever done when he was with Dwight Johnson, because he was just a walking billboard. Now, this comes to us thanks to Benny Johnson, and Benny Johnson said, quote, breaking, Dwight "The Rock" Johnson says he regrets endorsing Joe Biden in 2020 and will not endorse him in 2024. And this is the very intellectually stimulating Mr. Rock.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought...
at least he admits it. It was the best decision for him at that time. Because again, Biden was more popular back then. More people voted for Biden than ever in U.S. history for a presidential election. So it was the popular thing to do. So that's why Dwight "The Rock" Johnson did it. Not because he authentically believed that this is the best presidential candidate who's going to have the best policies to help everyone. No, he just did it for himself, obviously.
Back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
Because Biden's not as popular this year. That's why he's not doing it. It's not because he authentically gives a damn. He just wants to do whatever is the most popular thing. Because that's what he wants to, that's why he'll never run for president. There's so many people speculating maybe the Rock Johnson, maybe he'll run for office. No, because half the country's going to hate you regardless of whatever you do or say. A lot of things are just politics. People are locked into the left, locked into the right. People would hate him. I don't think he'd do that. He wants the most people to like him. Which is why it's even more ridiculous that he started getting into politics. But again, he thought, well, a lot of people like Biden. More people voted for him than ever. I'll throw my hat in that ring. Now, this went viral. Got 3.2 million views and 38,000 likes. One of the first comments comes from Paul Zupa saying, quote, "Welcome back to Reality Dwayne," getting 51 likes. USMC Ladyvest says, quote, "Some of the damage that has been done may never be recoverable. I blame every single person that supported Joe Biden for the destruction of America," unquote, getting 3.2 thousand likes. Yeah, Thrill the Gorilla saying, quote, "I stopped listening to The Rock after he and Oprah begged poor people to help poor people in Hawaii, yet he and her could do more than help them with more than all of us combined. Guess they're too busy land grabbing after the fires. Speaking of fires, where are the missing Maui kids?" Unquote, getting 1.1 thousand likes. Valentina Gomez says, quote, "Huge red wave coming in 2024. Excited to be on the ballot with President Trump MAGA," unquote, getting 148 likes, which that's also what we were told during 2020, and yet the GOP had so many ineptitudes and the Republican Party made so many mistakes. Instead of a red wave, it was more of the red twig, what was it, drizzle? Is anemic to say the least. Sarah Rose says, quote, "Doesn't mean he's voting for Trump," unquote, getting 566 likes, which, again, I suspect he'll never actually say that because that would make him unpopular among a large group of people. You also have General TM saying, quote, "Michael Jordan would never have endorsed a political candidate because Michael Jordan is a wise businessman," unquote, getting 718 likes, which is true. It's allegedly said that he rumored when someone asked him, why don't you get into politics, or, why do you care what conservatives think? He said, conservatives buy shoes too. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, "People are waking up," unquote, getting 811 likes. Scroll down, you have Harrison Crankson, quote, "It would be funny if we reelected The Rock as president in 2028, getting 30 likes, which I don't know about that. Let's see here. Scrolling down, you say, Peace Most says, quote, "After his Oprah's Maui fiasco, Dwight Johnson has his PR agents working overtime to repair the damage he did to his brand," account, getting 56 likes. Let's see here. See if there's any contrarian statements. I'm not seeing them thus far. Redum 1974 says, quote, "How much was he paid to endorse him?" Quote, getting 11 likes. Star Dream says, quote, "I wish people had more foresight. Anyone with eyes could see back then it would be a mistake. Just saying," getting 45 likes. Mike Eagleman simply says, "Stop voting Democrat," unquote, getting 97 likes. Let's see here. Eric Cook says, quote, The Rock will run for office before it's over, and I trust him about as far as I could throw him," unquote, getting 50 likes. Planet of Memes says, quote, "People are waking up," getting 66 likes. Let's see. Murphy50 says, quote, "Won't publicly endorse him, but he'll vote that way anyway," unquote, getting 44 likes. Heavenbound.org says, quote, "How's the Maui fundraising campaign going, Rock?" unquote, getting 88 likes. Let's see here. There's got to be a couple contrarian statements. People saying they love The Rock and his eloquent, brilliant mind. I mean, probably not. We haven't found it yet. I've been scrolling for a little bit here. Bill Casey simply says, Someone will get him. He'll endorse Biden by summer. Grover Looning says, quote, oh, here we do have a contrarian statement. I had to scroll a little bit, but we found one. He says, quote, big respect for him to be able to be honest about this. Most don't have the courage and humility to just say I was wrong, unquote, getting 2 likes. Which, no, I don't think that's why he's doing it. He's doing it because it's the popular thing to say. Look at the approval ratings across the board. Biden right now is not electable in terms of Trump is beating him in almost all these polls. So the odds are Trump will win. I'm not saying that will necessarily happen. There are a lot of unknown variables, a lot of things we can't control. But, I mean, right now it seems to be the more popular opinion is to support Trump. I think that's why The Rock is changing his mind. And he's also, again, he's the prime example of a walking PR billboard. I mean, again, watch the Joe Rogan interview. It's so boring because he says so little and yet stayed there for so long. He's just avoided every controversial question and basically just bragged about the products that he endorses and he makes. So let me know, does The Rock, does his influence have any regard to you? Do you take advice from The Rock? Will you be not voting for Trump or voting for Biden because of what The Rock says? I mean, now he regrets his decision. Is there anyone tuning in who voted for Biden because The Rock said it'd be a brilliant idea? Or how many of your friends respect him to the point where they will vote for someone, even not just The Rock, vote for anyone just based on a celebrity saying who should you vote for? I mean, that I'd be really curious to see how many people would really admit that. I mean, let me know if you ever heard one or met one of those folks. I'd be fascinated, of course, to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part podcast, you have the White House declares that they do not support an independence for Taiwan, which is terrible news for pretty much every industry because every industry uses semiconductors, and that's where most of them come from. I would argue partially because of our government and cultural ineptitudes of voting for policies that make it prohibitive to do business in the United States. One of the reasons so many things, especially manufacturing, were outsourced to other countries that are more business friendly. That's why a majority of semiconductors, they're not made here. We're having to bribe companies to get them back here with public, giving them, not bonuses, but we're giving them all these forgivable loans and grants. Because again, for years, we just made it near impossible to make stuff here. Now, this comes to us thanks to Colin Rugg, and he says, quote, just in, the White House official John Kirby says that the Biden administration doesn't support Taiwan's independence. Yikes. The commitment came after a reporter asked about Biden's call with President Xi, this from China. Quote, I wouldn't characterize President Xi's comments, but I could tell you that the president was very, very clear that nothing's changed about our one China policy. We don't support independence for Taiwan, but we also don't want to see the status quo changed in a unilateral way, certainly not by force. So, granted, his voice is probably infinitely better than mine, so we'll go ahead and I'll hear what he has to say. This is the Mr. Kirby, which, I don't know. How many people just immediately think of Nintendo and that little, I don't know, it's not an animal, a magical creature, the little pink ball Kirby character? The Pokemon, yes, that thing. I think. Yeah, it's the Pokemon.
Reportedly told President Biden during their summit in San Francisco that Beijing plans to reunify Taiwan with mainland China. Did the Chinese leader bring up similar sentiment in their call the other day? And if so, what was President Biden's response?
Certainly Taiwan came up in the context of the call. There's not a single discussion that we don't have with senior leaders in the PRC where we don't talk about Taiwan. Of course it came up. I won't characterize President Xi's comments, but I can tell you that President Biden was very, very clear that nothing's changed about our one China policy. We don't support independence for Taiwan, but we also don't want to see the status quo changed in a unilateral way, and certainly not by force.
Reportedly told President Biden during the...
And again, there are different methodologies for, international diplomacy and, what's the best way to protect your allies. I kind of think the best way is, usually the old cliche, show by force. So, we do have some military presence and do military drills for the Taiwanese military. Can't help but think, put a couple Marines over in Taiwan, just guard those semiconductor factories. Because again, pretty much everything you enjoy in modern society, it has a semiconductor, and the most advanced ones all come from Taiwan. It's 90+% of advanced semiconductors are manufactured there. That is a huge consolidation in manufacturing. So of course we should absolutely care about that instance. Now, scrolling down, you have Red Wave Press saying, quote, what? The United States president elected by democracy doesn't support other democracies? That's a bold take. unquote, getting 5.2 thousand likes. Calvin responded saying, quote, God keep Papa G happy, getting 3.5 thousand likes. Kyle Becker says, quote, Biden is compromised as hell, getting 4.7 thousand likes. Sergio Plade says, quote, what do they support besides open borders, getting 816 likes. And Colin Rugg responded saying, quote, Ukraine, cheeks and dicks. I see what's going there. Rigging elections. Am I missing something? Getting 2.5 thousand likes. Paul Zazupa says, quote, in other words, China owns Biden. This is despicable, but it's not surprising, getting 748 likes. Pismo says, quote, are you surprised? It's a picture of someone walking dogs, and it's Mr. Xi, President Xi, or Dictator Xi. He is a dog walker, and all the dogs are the Biden family, the Obama family, Schumer, Pelosi, was that Harris, Hunter Biden. They got 944 likes. Let's see here. Mark says, quote, why is Joe Biden so soft on China? Because he's owned by and answers to the CCP, unquote, getting 676 likes. But yeah, fascinating how we have to kneecap our economy and destroy our automotive industry by getting rid of ICE vehicles and crimping down on emissions while China is building dozens of coal plants as we speak to ramp up their energy manufacturing capabilities. Scrolling down more and more. Yeah, Chris saying Trump 2024. He did not create the Democrats' hate. He exposed it. He did not create the media's bias. He exposed it. He did not create the corruption in both political parties and government. He exposed it. Unquote, getting 604 likes. Zeno says, quote, the puppet president is Biden. Looks like all the strings are attached, so it's like a Weekend at Bernie's type of situation, and he's being controlled by the flags of China, Ukraine, World Economic Forum, Israel, and I think India. The last flag eludes me at the moment. Or is it Mexico? No, Pakistan, I think. This is not a joke, but it should be. Again, I know many flags, kind of. And I got 617 likes. Pismo says, quote, Biden just gave a green light to President Xi to invade Taiwan, and quote, getting 550 likes. Valentin Gomez says, quote, wow, they don't support Taiwan, but support Ukraine joining NATO. Is it because Hunter is not doing business with Taiwan, getting 761 likes? Gunther Eagleman says, quote, the nickname China Joe makes sense now, getting 787 likes. Pismo says, quote, China wasn't interested in Taiwan until Taiwan became the world leader in semiconductors, and quote, getting 235 likes. He also said, Gunther Eagleman also says, quote, I blame Eric Swalwell for banging a Chinese spy, and quote, getting 812 likes. Let's see here. So, as youth might say, the opposite ratio, vindicated. I mean, pretty much everyone is agreeing with Colin. Let's see here. And it'll be interesting to see if that's going to be a big hot topic in politics in terms of U.S. global diplomatic relations. Are we too surprised that, we said they were going to be an ally, and yet we keep abandoning countries that we say are allies, and the bad guys keep expanding their territory? But let me know in the comments. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Vivek on citizens being charged while illegals are not. Now, this comes from his X-Twitter profile, and he says, quote, it's not surprising that a country that now has a two-tiered third world justice system sees third world results like crime waves in our cities and allowing illegal aliens to continue committing crime against innocent Americans. We've abandoned the rule of law, unquote. Without further ado.
You ever notice that when you're walking around the city anymore, you have to look over your shoulder for fear of getting mugged, fear of getting robbed, God forbid, fear of getting killed? You got former people who worked in the Trump administration in the middle of a car in Washington, D.C., getting killed, getting shot, getting carjacked. The crime wave in this country looks more like a third world nation than the United States of America. It's un-American. Now, it's not a surprise that the same country has become un-American in other ways. A justice system that goes after its political opponents. A political party in power that tries to eliminate its political opposition from the ballot, like a banana republic. The same country where have a southern border that's been more porous than it's ever been in our lifetime, where we're welcoming the very people who break the rule of law to enter this country, while all the more making it more difficult for the people who actually want to come the right way. It's no accident that that same country is the one that also sees third world results in that country. Those illegal migrants, mass migrants infiltrating our cities across this country, committing crimes. It is a surprise that the very people whose first act of entering this country breaks the law are also the ones who continue to break the law while they're already in this country. Of course, it's not a surprise. So what the heck is going on? We have an abandonment of the rule of law in the United States of America. People like Mayorkas and his boss, Joe Biden, they have abandoned the founding principle of this country that we're a nation of laws, not of men. That's the United States of America. Well, how do we fix it? This is an issue that can unite all Americans. This is not a black versus white issue. If anything, it's more of a black issue than a white issue because it affects the inner cities, but it's a black, white, Hispanic issue. Doesn't matter. No American wants to live in a country where you can't walk home from the grocery store or a deli in the city of New York or Chicago or Denver or Cleveland without fear of being robbed. That's not America. That's not the first world. That's not the country that my parents came halfway around the world to join. So what do we do about it? There's something for the federal government to do. I don't think the federal government should be handing over our U.S. federal taxpayer money to sanctuary cities that pay for the breakage of rule of law. We should not be handing over our money to cities that are putting constraints on what police officers are actually able to do. You have even Republicans, many of them embarrassingly, advocating for laws in the Senate as of a couple of years ago that would have banned giving federal funding to any locality that allows those police officers to use chokeholds. We know how to address crime. Here's how you do it. More cops on the streets that are able to do their job without fear of looking over their shoulder of being sued. And bring back the psychiatric institutions, the mental health institutions. Not just pumping pharmaceuticals into people, but faith-based approaches. That's something we could do nationwide. Now, the federal government can only play a small role in this. A lot of this has to be driven by the states. So here's my advice, unsolicited perhaps, solicited by some. For any person who's aspiring to be a Republican governor in this country, or anybody who is a Republican governor in this country, listen carefully. Here's how you do it. Any Republican governor run on this issue, it's a winner in your state. For every federal bureaucrat, every state bureaucrat that you hire, the federal bureaucracy is alive and well, but that swamp, that fourth branch, is alive and well in the swamp of every state as well. If you want to fire every one of those bureaucrats and replace them with a cop who's actually put in the cities of that street, state police, in the cities of your state, swap out bureaucrats for police officers who are able to do their job, that's a winning issue. It's a winner among Democrats, it's a winner among Republicans. They'll say that having more cops on the street is a racist policy. A lot of white progressive leftists might say that. You want to know who supports actually having more cops in the neighborhoods? A lot of people in black communities that are suffering at the hands of violent crime that's spreading across this country like an epidemic. That's where Republicans can lead the way, ought to lead the way. And so any Republican mayor, any Republican governor that runs on a basic policy of swapping out every bureaucrat, it's budget neutral. You're not paying for more cops, you're paying for fewer bureaucrats and swapping in cops on the street to be able to do their job at the local level. That's how we restore the rule of law in this country. That's how we allow Americans to at least begin to feel like we do live in a first world country again in your daily life. To be able to park your car at a grocery store without fear of it being jacked by the time you come back to take your food home. And that's the beginning of rebuilding a country that begins to act like a first world country again, not just in abating violent crime across the country, but also, dare I dream, of a government that doesn't go after its political opponents, a government that doesn't silence its oppressed speech, a government that actually believes in borders, that a nation without borders isn't a nation. That's the first step of how we get there. But those are even more politically contentious. Put that to one side for now. Let's stop the spate of violent crime in this country. That's something every American, regardless of political affiliation, actually supports. And any Republican governor or mayor across this country who runs on that agenda is going to win and win in a landslide. Mark my words. Take that, run with it. Let's see what happens in 24 and a couple years after in 26. We're going to have a Republican wave across the country if we have the courage to have leaders with the spine to actually stand for tough on crime policies.
So yeah, that would be great. That'd be a good political move, I think. However, there are a lot of ineptitudes in politicians, and I'll never forget the 2020, midterms, and he said, oh yeah, or 2022 midterms, apologies. Remember, there's going to be a big blue, there's going to be a big red wave, big, he's going to be big, and yet it's just a drizzle. Now, going to the comments again, this wasn't his most viral moment, but I thought it was still important to bring up. It got a little over 200,000 views and 10,000 likes. One of the first comments comes from our favorite leftist, Luke Zaleski, well, not really favorite, but is a contrarian comment and is interesting to make sure we don't have kind of a boring echo chamber. And Luke says, quote, "You're becoming irrelevant and redundant by repeating Trump so much," unquote, getting 19 likes. Now he's almost ratio by Rivian Soul says, quote, "So nothing against his poster position, no correction on his statement, just insults, that's pathetic," unquote, getting 5 likes. Let's see here. Scrolling down. You have Andrew Mudd saying, quote, "So simple to understand yet so complex for some. I hope we can turn things around before it's too late. My biggest fear is we're getting scary close to that threshold," unquote, getting 16 likes. Believer Mindset said, quote, "Biden is more worried about Ukraine than our own border. Keep speaking the truth, Vivek," unquote, getting 27 likes. They got about $200 billion in not just cash, but weapons, humanitarian aid, aka like medical supplies, food. A little over $200 billion. Yet our border is still more porous than Swiss cheese. Something to that effect. More porous than lava rock? Yeah, let's go with that. That's a little more porous, I think. A little geology pun there for if there's any geologists tuning in. You also have James Lynette saying, quote, "Vivek is mainstreaming some common sense. We need more leaders like Vivek," unquote, getting 80 likes. Let's see here. Sabine Falk saying, quote, "I came to this country and became a citizen almost 4 years ago. I love the U.S. and am floored by what is happening right now. No country can provide freedom to its citizens without rule of law," unquote, getting 12 likes. Let's see here, scrolling down more and more. Comrade Don't Tread on Me said, quote, "The only cops on the streets the Democratic Party wants are cops that are used to intimidate, arrest, and harass political enemies and people who disagree with left-wing policies," unquote, getting 5 likes. No More Fraud says, quote, "We now have rule of feelings," unquote, getting 2 likes. Giulio Mariano says, quote, "And abandoning said rule has brought us to where we're at today," unquote, getting 3 likes. Let's see here. Well, let's see. Caring. And they have the blue heart or rainbow emoji. Looks like the Tide logo, but it's blue. And it says, "Vote blue, remove stubborn orange stains." 22,000 followers. This person is a dog lover, resist, science-educated world traveler, veteran, proud dad. Smartass, blocked by Carrie Lake, DC Drano MAGA. They can't keep up, unquote. Joined 2020. There's a guy named Caring. I want to say it's weak, but yeah, Mr. Caring has a blue. At least it's moderately entertaining. I have seen that pun before with the Tide logo, so at least there's a modicum of creativity in that. And this person, Mr. Caring, and peace emoji. Mr. Caring said, quote, "You should hook up with Laura Loomer, but you seem to always be wrong about everything." And there's a screenshot of again, this is useless. Give me the URL to the actual study or the data. So there's a screenshot of a quote that says, "Study on migrant crime in the U.S." Now, granted, I mean, there's a difference between migrants and illegal aliens. If you're a migrant, if you come here properly, we do a background check and we vet you. So I would suspect those people, that crime rate would be significantly lower than people we have no information, we don't have any data on their background. Now, again, they don't tell us the study, and I'm looking at the pictures. No, he says, quote, or rather the study he's referencing that we don't know about, says, quote, "Contrary to public perception, we observe considerably lower felony arrest rates among undocumented immigrants compared to legal immigrants and native-born U.S. citizens, and find no evidence that undocumented criminality has increased in recent years," unquote. That public perception. Now, also there's some states that don't prosecute crime, and some district attorneys that don't prosecute crime. So there are multi-variables in that. And while some might say his comments are mentally vacuous, it did get 2 likes. So again, there are some people who agree with him. You also have Alex saying, quote, "They've abandoned their duty to the American people. They're traitors," unquote, getting 7 likes. Scrolling down more and more. It seems to be overwhelming. Let's see here. Maggie Zhuang says, quote, "U.S. is a third world country now," getting 2 likes. So looks like a couple contrarian statements. But mostly, we got John Trotta saying Trump Vivek 2024, getting 10 likes. But mostly the sentiment is in support of Vivek. And again, it'll be interesting to see what's his political future. I mean, there's so many rumors. Maybe Trump will pick him. Maybe he won't for VP. Maybe it'll be a cabinet position in some capacity. But let me know. Do you think? I mean, his messaging. He did okay in the Republican primary. He didn't win, but the top comments with most responses when he was running was, "We like you, but for 2028, not 2024." So let me know. What do you think the future is going to bring for Vivek? Do you think this is a winning message or winning topic, politically speaking? As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Boeing to pay Alaska Airlines about $160 million for their mid-air blowout, the first of maybe many payments. Now, this comes to us thanks to Jacob Crunston at Axios. He said, quote, Boeing paid Alaska Airlines $160 million for losses after 737 MAX 9 grounding. Now, this is specifically from the 735 MAX suffering a mid-air door plug blowout in January, according to a new filing from the airline. Which looks like they say why it matters. Disclosure widens the fallout for Boeing, which has faced reputational crisis as it's seen as a manufacturing practice thrust back under the regulatory microscope. It also combined renewed scrutiny on its 737 MAX jet after two previous 737 MAX 8 crashes that killed a combined 346 people between 2018 and 2019. Now, when it comes to how was Alaska Airlines directly fiscally impacted, they noted that, quote, as a result of the flight 1282 accident and the Boeing 737 MAX 9 MAX groundings, we've lost approximately $160 million in Q1 pre-tax profit, primarily comprising lost revenues, costs due to irregular operations, and costs to restore our fleet to operating service, unquote, as, again, a quote from the airline. They do say, quote, let's see, as we have received the initial compensation from Boeing to address the financial issues, as part of the compensation, Boeing paid the air group approximately $160 million in cash during the first quarter. Which, geez Louise, I can't believe it. Let's see, maybe it hasn't made a dent at all in their stock. Let's bring that up really quick. So looking at Boeing stock, yeah, they went down a little bit. Granted, it looks like their long-term trend has not been great either. So it's certainly a contributing factor to why the stock went down a fair bit. And last week it went down around 4.21%. Now that being said, zoom out a little bit. In the past month, it's down 8.52%. And again, it's trading about $180 per share with no dividend yield. So they only give you a dividend or incentive to hold the stock if you're to purchase it. But another topic for another time, perhaps. The 1 month trend is down 8.52%. Past 6 months is down 1%. Year to date, the stock is down 26.91%, which is also known as terrible. You have the past 1 year is down 12%. In the past 5 years, which is almost inconceivably bad, it's down 53.1%. In fact, in the past 5 years. Now, I know public school test scores are at all-time low. I mean, the ACT scores at a 32-year low. So we'll do a little bit of fun math here today. That means they've lost a little bit more than half of their value, with the market cap currently being $112 billion. Now, of course, you look at the MAX stock throughout past decades, they're still up, of course, by about 3,000%. Partially because it looks like the first trading point that I can see on this graph is $5.40 per share in 1984. So again, they've grown quite a bit exponentially, but I mean, 5 years the stock is down 50%, technically 53.1%, but who's counting? And again, they are getting a new CEO because the last one was previously ousted for his myriad of business ineptitudes, and you could also argue moral ineptitudes for allowing so many bad things to happen. I hope they change their hiring practice policies and they do a revamp of their safety whole regiment. But considering they're having a lot of issues with their commercial vehicles or commercial planes, and ironically, they used to be considered a defense contractor in terms of the public perception because that was where most of the revenue was coming from, and it still does to this day. But I mean, relative to the history of Boeing, they were relatively new to the commercial market. They did a huge push, I believe in the 60s is when they really came to prominence with their, the Boeing Mass was 747, 37. The models all kind of blend together. They all look alike to me. I'm more of a gearhead myself. But they made huge strides and they were a juggernaut in the commercial aerospace. But they're having more and more competition with Airbus eating their lunch, or perhaps more appropriately, sipping their jet fuel from a champagne glass. Yeah, that's a more appropriate metaphor, perhaps. And jet fuel is not cheap, keep that in mind. They're losing contracts left and right. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how they lost a contract to Airbus, I believe it's for part of the fleet for Spirit Airlines, or was it American? And again, those companies like having standards. It's much cheaper to have a fleet of a single manufacturer because, again, you get a good discount if you're buying a bulk of parts or bulk replacement parts, or some parts time out as opposed to wear out, so you replace them regardless of usage. It's about X amount of days on a calendar. But you tend to buy more in bulk, you get more savings. You also can decrease on the savings, decrease the cost of training the mechanics. So you specialize in one particular type of plane and one manufacturer. So there are many reasons why they should be quite concerned that, again, these other companies are just completely, they're starting to take up their market share more and more. And again, 100, that's all cash. 160, $1 million? If I was a shareholder, I would be irate. And again, they have to pay the fine. They had a direct negative impact on this business, that being Alaska Airlines. And I can't but wonder how quickly could they possibly fix all of these issues. And they're also going to blame. It looks like they might even file a lawsuit for reputational damages as well. Because again, that's going to be a big issue too. It's not just a direct, you lost X amount of dollars during this quarter because the plane couldn't work, but also how many people are booking their flights with other competitors because they think the other competitors are more reliable, they're safer. So Boeing's reputation is being damaged more and more, and their safety record is just becoming comical at best. This big payout because of their safety ineptitudes, I don't know if it's bad employee training, bad safety protocols. I'm sure there'll be a full analysis and shoot even a documentary based on how big this problem is. But once again, when it comes to the activities of Boeing, this big payout because of their ineptitudes, I gotta say that is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Sharing the video is also a great way to help with the natural Rumble and YouTube algorithms. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.